My parents gave my college money to my sister because she had potential. I paid my own way. Now I'm a partner, and she wants my money. Potential doesn't pay rent. My younger sister, Jenny, is 30 now. Growing up, our family was solidly middle class. We were not rich, but we were comfortable enough that my parents started college funds for both of us when we were kids. The plan was always simple. They would contribute what they could over the years, and by the time each of us turned 18, we would each have around $40,000 to help with college. It was not some massive trust fund, but it was enough to make a real difference. It was enough to keep a person from drowning in debt before their adult life even started. From the time I was old enough to understand money, my parents drilled into me that I needed to be responsible with that fund. I heard constant lectures about my future, smart choices, not wasting opportunities, and understanding the value of a dollar. I could not even buy a new video game without getting a speech about financial responsibility. Meanwhile, Jenny got whatever she wanted whenever she wanted it, because apparently different rules applied to her. Let me paint the picture of our childhood clearly. I was the boring kid. I played baseball. I got decent grades. I had a solid group of friends. I generally stayed out of trouble. I was not setting the world on fire, but I was not causing problems either. I was just an average kid trying to figure out life, doing what I was supposed to do, and hoping someone would notice. My parents' reaction to basically everything I did was a half-hearted nod of approval. If I got a B+ on a test, it was, "That's nice, honey." If I made the baseball team, it was, "Good job." It always felt like being acknowledged by a robot programmed to give the absolute minimum amount of encouragement. Jenny, on the other hand, was special. She was in every advanced class, every honors program, and every enrichment activity our school district offered. She played violin. She participated in debate club. She had the whole gifted child thing going on. And to be fair, she really was smart. I am not trying to pretend she was not talented. But the way my parents talked about her, you would have thought she was destined to cure cancer, solve world hunger, and win a Nobel Prize before her 25th birthday. Every dinner conversation revolved around Jenny's achievements. Jenny got first chair in the orchestra. Jenny's debate team won regionals. Jenny's teacher said she was the most talented student they had taught in years. I could have walked in holding a Nobel Prize, and my parents probably would have said, "That's great, but did you hear about Jenny's science fair project?" The favoritism was not subtle. For my 16th birthday, I got a $50 GameStop gift card and a card that said "Happy Birthday" with my dad's signature inside. For Jenny's 16th birthday, they threw her a surprise party, invited 40 people, rented out a restaurant, and bought her a MacBook Pro. When I asked why my birthday had been so different, my mom said, "Well, Jenny is going places. We need to support her ambitions." Do you know what message that sends to a kid? It tells you that you are the backup plan. You are the safety child. You are the one they are just kind of tolerating until the star of the family does something incredible. During my senior year of high school, I applied to a bunch of state schools. Nothing fancy, just decent public universities, where I could study business and hopefully graduate without drowning in debt. I got into my first choice, a solid state university about 2 hours from home. I was pumped. My parents' reaction was, "Oh, that's good." Then, they went right back to discussing Jenny's National Merit Scholarship application. Jenny was only a junior at the time, but she was already being recruited by prestigious schools. We were talking Ivy League interest, scholarship offers, the works. She had her pick of the litter, and my parents were losing their minds with pride. They talked about it constantly. Our daughter might go to Princeton. Yale sent her a personal letter. It was like living inside Jenny's personal fan club. I started college in the fall of 2009. The economy was still recovering from the 2008 crash, and before I left for school, my parents sat me down for a conversation that is burned into my brain because it changed everything. My dad cleared his throat in that way he always did when he was about to deliver bad news. Then he said, "Son, we need to talk about your college fund." I figured they were going to tell me the fund had taken a hit in the market crash. That would have sucked, but I would have understood. What I was not prepared for was what came next. "We've made a decision," my mom said, not quite looking me in the eye. "We're reallocating your college fund to Jenny's education." I remember just sitting there, trying to process what I had heard. "I'm sorry. What?" My dad jumped in with his reasonable adult voice, the one he used when he wanted something unfair to sound logical. "Jenny has been accepted to Columbia University. It is an incredible opportunity, but even with her scholarships, the costs are substantial. Your state school is much more affordable, and we think you will be fine with student loans and part-time work." I stared at them and said, "You're giving her my college fund?" The fund you have been telling me my entire life was for my education? My mom got that defensive tone she always used when she knew she was being unfair but did not want to admit it. We're not giving it away. We're investing it where it will have the most impact. Jenny is going to do incredible things. She needs every advantage we can give her. And I don't? I asked. My dad waved his hand dismissively. You'll be fine. You're more practical. You don't need an Ivy League education to succeed. Jenny is different. She has real potential. There it was, the word that would haunt me for years. Potential. I did not have potential. I was just practical. Boring. Safe. Not worth the investment. So let me get this straight, I said, feeling anger building in my chest. You spent my entire childhood telling me that fund was mine, and now you are just taking it because Jenny is special and I'm not? My mom actually rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. This is about making smart choices for the family. When Jenny becomes successful, she will be able to help all of us. Think of it as a long-term investment. Right. An investment I apparently was not worth making. I asked if they were at least going to leave me something. Anything. My dad said they would keep $5,000 in my fund for emergencies, but the rest, about $35,000, was going to Jenny. He said it like he was being generous, like leaving me a fraction of what had been promised to me was some kind of gift. I left for college a week later feeling completely betrayed. That $5,000 emergency fund lasted exactly one semester. Books, housing, meal plan, fees, and all the little costs nobody warns you about added up fast. By January, I was applying for every loan I could get and looking for a job. I ended up working at a grocery store 25 hours a week while taking a full course load. My schedule was brutal. Most days, I had classes from 8 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. Then I worked from 4 until 9 at night. I would get back, study until midnight, sleep for about 6 hours, and do it all again. Weekends were for catching up on assignments I had not finished during the week and picking up extra shifts whenever I could. Meanwhile, Jenny was living her best life at Columbia. My parents posted constant updates on Facebook about her achievements. Jenny made the dean's list. Jenny was doing research with a renowned professor. Jenny was spending spring break at a conference in London. Every post felt like a knife in the gut. I would call home occasionally, and the conversations were always the same. They would ask how school was going in that tone that made it clear they did not really care about the answer. Then they would spend 30 minutes talking about whatever amazing thing Jenny was doing that week. When I mentioned that I was working 25 hours a week on top of classes, my dad said, "Good, builds character." But when Jenny got a prestigious unpaid internship that my parents had to help fund, it was celebrated like she had won a MacArthur grant. The breaking point came during my sophomore year. I was drowning in student loan debt, working myself to exhaustion, and barely keeping my grades above a 3. I called home and asked if they could help me out just a little, maybe a couple $100s a month to ease the pressure. I was not asking for much, just enough so I could cut back my work hours and focus more on school. My mom actually laughed. "Honey, we can't do that. We're already stretched thin helping Jenny with her expenses. Columbia is expensive, you know." "I know," I said. "That's why you gave her my college fund." She got quiet. Then she said, "We did what was best for the family. Jenny is going to make us all proud one day. You need to stop being bitter about this." I hung up. I did not call home for 6 months after that. They did not even notice. The final year of college was the hardest. I was taking 18 credits, working 30 hours a week, and applying for jobs while trying to maintain the GPA I needed to graduate. I remember one particular week when I worked a double shift on Saturday, had a major exam on Monday, a group project due Wednesday, and 2 job interviews on Thursday and Friday. I got maybe 15 hours of sleep total that week. I was running on energy drinks in pure spite. During finals week of senior year, I got the stomach virus from hell, probably from one of the kids I worked with at the grocery store. I was so sick I could barely stand, but I still had 3 finals and my shifts at work. I could not afford to miss work because I needed every dollar for graduation fees and moving expenses. So I took my finals while fighting off waves of nausea, and I worked my shifts while taking anti-nausea medication every 4 hours. I called my mom thinking maybe she would offer some sympathy or ask if I needed anything. She told me to drink water and get rest, then spent 20 minutes telling me about the amazing graduation party they were planning for Jenny. They had invited 100 people, rented a venue, and hired a caterer. The whole thing was going to cost around $8,000. I was too sick and too tired to even be angry. I graduated in 4 years with a degree in finance and about $80,000 in student loan debt. My graduation was on a Saturday at 10 in the morning. I walked across that stage, got my diploma, and sat in the audience afterward with my roommate's family because my own family could not be bothered to show up. Why couldn't they come? Because they were all in New York celebrating Jenny's graduation from Columbia, which had happened a week earlier. My graduation conflicted with the fancy brunch they had planned as part of Jenny's post-graduation celebration. When I had told them my graduation date months earlier, my mom had sighed and said, "Oh, honey, that's the same weekend as Jenny's celebration events. We can't possibly miss those, but we're very proud of you." They sent me a card. Inside was a $100 check and a note that said, "Congratulations on your achievement. Love, Mom and Dad." The card had a stock photo of a generic graduate on it. They had probably grabbed it from the drugstore on their way to the airport to visit Jenny. Jenny graduated with honors, double majoring in political science and economics. She already had a job lined up at a prestigious nonprofit in Manhattan. My parents posted about 50 photos on Facebook from her graduation and the celebration afterward. There were pictures of her in her cap and gown, pictures of the family at fancy restaurants, pictures of them touring New York together. I was not in any of them, obviously. I was 800 miles away, sitting in my dorm room, packing boxes by myself. My parents could not stop talking about how proud they were of Jenny. My mom changed her Facebook profile picture to one of her and Jenny at graduation, both of them beaming. It stayed that way for 2 years. My dad's profile picture became one of Jenny giving her salutatorian speech. Meanwhile, I am pretty sure I was not even mentioned on their social media, except for one post my mom made that said, "Both our kids graduated college this month. So proud." It had about 15 photos attached. 14 were of Jenny. One was a picture from my high school graduation 4 years earlier. After college, I moved to Chicago for a job at a mid-sized accounting firm. The salary was $52,000 a year, which sounded like a fortune until I calculated how much would go to taxes, rent, food, transportation, and my massive student loan payments. The work was mind-numbing at first, mostly tax prep and basic bookkeeping for small businesses. The hours were long, especially during tax season, when 70-hour weeks were standard. The pay was just okay, but it was a start. I lived in a studio apartment in a sketchy part of the city. It was basically a closet with a window. The place was 400 square feet, had a radiator that clanged like a prison riot all winter, and a neighbor who practiced drums at 2 in the morning. But it was $700 a month, and that was all I could afford after my student loan payments. I furnished it with stuff I found on Craigslist and one decent mattress I had saved up for because my back was killing me from sleeping on a futon for 3 months. I ate ramen more nights than I want to admit. Not because I could not cook, but because after working 12 hours and commuting an hour each way on public transit, I barely had the energy to boil water. My grocery budget was $150 a month. I learned how to make one rotisserie chicken last a week. I bought the big bags of rice and beans. I clipped coupons like a Depression-era grandmother. Every spare dollar went to my student loans because I was determined to get out from under that debt as fast as possible. My loan payment was $850 a month on the standard 10-year plan. I paid $1,200 a month, sometimes more if I picked up weekend shifts doing freelance bookkeeping. I wanted that debt gone. I needed it gone. Every month, when I made that payment, I thought about how I would not be in that situation if my parents had just split the college fund fairly. If they had given me even half of what they gave Jenny, I would have graduated with maybe $30,000 in debt instead of $80,000. That $50,000 difference was crushing me. Meanwhile, Jenny was thriving in New York, or at least that was what my parents told everyone. She was changing the world at her nonprofit job, making important connections, and building an impressive career. My parents visited her constantly, posting pictures of fancy restaurants and Broadway shows. When I asked if they wanted to visit me in Chicago, my mom said, "Maybe next year, honey. We're just so busy." Years passed. I worked my tail off at that accounting firm, putting in 60-hour weeks, taking on every project nobody else wanted, and slowly building a reputation as someone who got things done. I paid off my student loans by the time I was 28, all $80,000 of them. Nobody in my family even acknowledged it when I told them. My dad just said, "See, we told you that you would be fine." I switched firms when I was 29, moving to a larger company with better opportunities. The work was even more intense, but the pay was significantly better. I finally moved out of my shoebox apartment into an actual one-bedroom. I started saving money for the first time in my adult life, and it felt incredible. At 31, I made senior accountant. At 32, I was promoted to manager. And at 33, just 2 months ago, I made partner. Partner. At 33, I became one of the youngest partners in my firm's history. The announcement came with a significant raise, profit sharing, And my name on the door. Literally, my name on the door. I had made it. I called my parents to tell them. Despite everything, I was genuinely excited. Part of me still wanted their approval. Part of me still wanted them to be proud of me. My mom answered the phone and I said, "Hey mom, I have some great news." "Oh, that's nice, dear," she said. "Listen, we're actually about to head out. Can this wait?" "It'll just take a second," I said. "I made partner at my firm." There was silence. Then she said, "Oh, that's nice. Good for you." That was it. "That's nice. Good for you." Like I had told her I tried a new coffee shop. Not like I had achieved something most people spend their entire careers working toward. "Mom, did you hear me?" I asked. "I made partner at 33. That is a pretty big deal." "Yes, I heard you. We're very happy for you. Listen, I really need to go. Jenny is going through something right now and needs us to be available for her." Of course. Jenny needed something. I hung up without saying goodbye. I did not cry. I had learned a long time ago that my family's approval was not something I was ever going to get, but it still stung. A week later, I got a text from Jenny. It was not congratulations on making partner. It was not even, "Hey, I heard your news." It just said, "Can I call you? I need to talk to you about something important." I almost did not respond. Jenny and I were not close. We had been civil over the years, but there had always been this weird tension between us. She knew our parents favored her. I knew it. Everyone knew it. She never acknowledged it, never apologized for it, and never even mentioned it. She just accepted it as her due and moved on with her life. But curiosity got the better of me, so I texted back, "Sure." She called within 2 minutes. No pleasantries, no small talk. She went straight to the point. "I'm in a really bad financial situation," she said. "I need to ask you for money." I actually laughed. I could not help it. The irony was too perfect. "You need money from me?" "I know it's awkward," she continued. "But I didn't know who else to ask. Mom and Dad can't help, and you're the only person I know who is doing well financially." "What happened to your job?" I asked. "Last I heard, you were doing incredible things at that nonprofit." She sighed. "I left that job 3 years ago. It wasn't paying enough. And I had all this student debt from grad school." "Wait, grad school?" I asked. "I thought Mom and Dad paid for Columbia with my college fund." "They did," she said. "But I went back for my master's. They helped some, but I had to take out loans for most of it." "And the job you got after your master's?" Another sigh. "I've had a few jobs. None of them really worked out. The nonprofit sector doesn't pay well, and I've had some setbacks." I let the silence stretch, waiting for her to elaborate. When she did not, I asked, "What kind of setbacks?" "I'd rather not get into it over the phone," she said. "The point is, I'm struggling right now. I have about $60,000 in credit card debt on top of my student loans, and I'm barely making minimum payments. I'm drowning, and I need help." $60,000 in credit card debt on top of student loans. I did not even want to know what the student loan amount was. "What do you need from me?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "I was hoping you could loan me some money," she said. "Maybe $30,000, just to help me get back on my feet. I'll pay you back, I promise." $30,000. She wanted me to loan her $30,000, nearly the same amount she got from my college fund, the money that had been supposed to be mine. "Jenny," I said, keeping my voice calm, "you took my college fund. You went to Columbia on my dime. Mom and Dad invested in you because you had potential. Remember? I was just the practical one, who would be fine with student loans." "That wasn't my decision," she said quickly. "That was Mom and Dad. But you didn't say no, did you?" I asked. "You didn't tell them it was wrong? You just took the money and ran with it." I was 17. I didn't understand what they were doing. "But you understand now," I said. "And you have never once acknowledged it. You have never apologized. You have never even mentioned it. You just acted like you deserved it." She was quiet for a moment. Then, in a small voice, she said, "I did deserve it. I was a good student. I worked hard." "So did I shot back. "I worked 25 hours a week while going to school full-time. I ate ramen. I lived in a closet. I graduated with $80,000 in debt because you deserved my college fund. And now you are asking me for money because you mismanaged the advantages you were handed." "This isn't about the past," she said, her voice getting defensive. "This is about me asking my brother for help. I'm in trouble, and I need support." "Where was my support when I was drowning in debt?" I asked. "Where was the family investment in me?" Where was the belief in my potential? You're being petty, she said. I'm being realistic, I corrected. I paid my own way. I worked my tail off to get where I am. Nobody handed me anything. And now you want me to bail you out of a situation you created. I thought you would understand, she said, and I could hear tears in her voice. I thought you would want to help family. Family? I repeated. Right. The same family that gave away my college fund. The same family that could not even be bothered to congratulate me on making partner. That family. Mom told me about you making partner, Jenny said. Congratulations. You have clearly done well for yourself. So why can't you help me? Because potential does not pay rent, Jenny. Results do. You had every advantage handed to you, and you squandered it. That is not my problem. She started crying. I can't believe you're being so cruel about this. I'm your sister. I'm asking for help. And I'm your brother. The one you never gave a second thought to when you were living off my college fund. I'm the brother whose graduation you did not attend. I'm the brother Mom and Dad compared to you unfavorably for our entire lives. So no, Jenny. I am not loaning you money. So you're just going to let me suffer? She asked through her tears. I'm going to let you figure it out the same way I had to, I said. Get a second job. Cut your expenses. Make a budget. Pay off your debt slowly. It builds character, remember? That's what Dad told me. She hung up on me. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was my mother. I almost did not answer, but I knew that if I ignored her, she would just keep calling. How could you say no to your sister? She started before I could even say hello. She is in trouble, and she needs help. She needs $30,000, I corrected. There is a difference between help and a bailout. She is family. You help family. Where was this energy when I needed help? I asked. Where was the family support when I was working myself to death trying to pay for school? Where was it when I asked for a couple $100s a month and you laughed at me? That was different, my mom said. You were fine. Jenny is in real trouble. I was in real trouble too, Mom. I was drowning. But you did not care because I was not the special one. I was just practical. Remember? You are still bitter about the college fund, she said accusingly. After all these years, you are still holding a grudge. I'm not holding a grudge, I said. I am applying the same logic you used. You invested in Jenny because she had potential. That investment did not pay off. That is not my problem. She is your sister. And I am your son, I shot back. A son you ignored and dismissed my entire life. A son who paid his own way. A son who worked his tail off and made something of himself without your help or support. And now you want me to hand over $30,000 to bail out the daughter you actually cared about? The daughter who wasted every advantage you gave her? My mom was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You have become very hard. I became very realistic, I corrected. I learned that I could not count on family. I learned that I was on my own. You taught me that, Mom. You and Dad. And now you are upset that I actually learned the lesson. If you don't help your sister, I don't know what we're going to do, she said, and I could hear the manipulation in her voice. The guilt trip. The expectation that I would fold because they had decided I should. You'll figure it out, I said. Just like I had to. Maybe you can reallocate some funds. Isn't that what you called it? Reallocating? I hung up before she could respond. My dad called an hour later. Same conversation, different voice. How could I be so selfish? How could I turn my back on family? Did I not understand that Jenny needed help? I gave him the same answers I had given my mom. He told me I was being vindictive and that I was punishing Jenny for decisions she did not make. I told him she benefited from those decisions for years and never once objected. He called me ungrateful. I asked him what exactly I should be grateful for. He hung up on me. That night, Jenny sent me a long text. It was full of apologies, explanations, and justifications. She was sorry for how things had gone. She had not realized how hard it had been for me. She understood that I was hurt, but she was drowning, and she needed help. Could I not see past our history to help her now? She promised she had changed. She promised she would pay me back. She promised it was a one-time thing. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. The next day, my mom called again. This time, her approach was different. She was nice, sweet, even. She asked how I was doing. She congratulated me on making partner. She said she was proud of me. It was so transparent that it would have been funny if it had not been so sad. Then she got to the point. I know you are upset about the college fund, she said. I can see now that maybe we did not handle that fairly. Maybe? I said. Okay, she admitted. We did not handle it fairly. We made a mistake. We should have split it between you and Jenny. We should have found another way to help her pay for Columbia. We were wrong. I waited. There was clearly more coming. But that is in the past, she continued. And right now your sister needs help. She has made some mistakes with money, but she has learned from them. She just needs a chance to get back on her feet. With $30,000 of my money, I said. It is not that much for you, my mom said. You just made partner. You are doing well. For you, $30,000 is manageable. For Jenny, it is the difference between sinking and swimming. Mom, I said slowly, do you hear yourself? You are literally asking me to give Jenny money because I worked hard and succeeded while she wasted every advantage you gave her. You are asking me to reward her failure and punish my success. That is not what I'm doing, she protested. That is exactly what you are doing, I said. And the answer is still no. What about 20,000 then? She tried. Or even 15,000? Something to help her get started. The answer is no to any amount, I said firmly. This is not about the money, Mom. This is about the principle. You chose Jenny over me. You invested in her future and left me to fend for myself. That was your choice. Now she needs to deal with the consequences of her choices, just like I had to deal with the consequences of yours. My mom's voice went cold. So you are just going to watch your sister suffer. I am going to watch her figure it out, I corrected. The same way I had to. Character building, remember? She hung up. The calls and texts continued for a few days. Jenny called, my parents called, even my aunt called to tell me I was being unreasonable. Everyone had an opinion about what I should do with my money. Nobody seemed to care about what had been done to me. Finally, I sent a group text to my parents and Jenny. I am not changing my mind. Stop asking. If you continue to harass me about this, I will block all of you. My dad responded, we are just trying to help our daughter. I wrote back, you have 2 children. You chose to help one. The other one helped himself. Now you have to live with that choice. And, for the record, I am your son too. My mom replied, we never said you weren't. I answered, you didn't have to say it. You showed it every day of my life. The college fund was just the most obvious example. Jenny texted me separately, I'm sorry you feel like we didn't care about you. That was never the intention. But I'm really struggling here, and I don't understand why you can't help me when you have the means. I wrote back one last time. You had the means, Jenny. You had my college fund. You had mom and dad's support. You had every advantage I never got. You had potential, remember? I was just the practical one, the boring one, the one who would be fine. And I am fine. I am better than fine. I am a partner at my firm. I am debt-free, and I am successful, not because of family support, but despite the lack of it. You had all the support and all the advantages, and now you are asking me for money. Think about what that says. She did not respond. It has been 3 weeks since Jenny first asked me for money. My parents have stopped calling. Jenny still sends the occasional text about how hard things are, but I do not respond. I have made my position clear. Yesterday, Jenny texted me. I got a second job working retail on weekends. It sucks, but I need the money. I guess you were right about character building. I almost responded. Almost. But I did not, because this is not about me being right and her being wrong. This is about consequences, choices, and learning that potential means nothing if you do not back it up with action. I worked 25 hours a week while going to school full-time. I ate ramen. I lived in a closet. I paid off $80,000 in debt by working my tail off. I made partner at 33 because I never had the luxury of relying on anyone else. Jenny had every advantage. She had support. She had encouragement. She had my college fund, and she squandered it. That is not my problem to fix. My parents invested in potential. I invested in results. That is the difference. Last night, I went out to celebrate making partner with some colleagues. We went to a nice steakhouse, the kind of place I never could have afforded when I was younger. I ordered the expensive wine. I got dessert. I enjoyed every minute of it because I earned it. Every bit of it. I earned it without help, without support, and without anyone believing in my potential. I just did the work. Potential does not pay rent. Results do. And I have plenty of results to show for my efforts. My family made their choice when I was 18. They chose Jenny. They chose potential over practicality. They chose who to invest in. Now, I am making my choice. I am choosing me. I am choosing to invest in my own future, not to bail out someone who wasted every advantage she was given. And if that makes me the bad guy in their story, I can live with that. Because in my story, I am the guy who succeeded despite everything. I am the guy who made it on his own. I am the partner at 33 who did it without a college fund, without family support, and without anyone believing in his potential. That is a story I am proud of. Jenny texted me again this morning. I understand why you said no. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. For what it's worth, I am proud of you for making partner. Even if I never showed it, I always knew you would succeed. You were always the reliable one. Duan. I stared at that text for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to engage, maybe even start building a better relationship with my sister. But the bigger part of me, the part that remembers every slight, every dismissal, and every time I was made to feel less than, could not let it go. Because being the reliable one is not a compliment when it means you are the one nobody cares about until they need something. Being the one who will be fine is not reassuring when it means nobody checks to see if you actually are fine. I was fine, but not because anyone helped me. I was fine because I helped myself. So, I did not respond to Jenny's text. I archived it and went to work. My parents called last week to tell me they were helping Jenny consolidate her debt and co-signing a loan for her. They were also letting her move back home rent-free while she got back on her feet. Jenny is 30 years old. They did not ask for my help this time. They just informed me of what they were doing. I think they expected me to feel guilty, or maybe expected me to offer to contribute. I just said, okay, good luck with that, and hung up. My mom called back immediately. That's all you have to say? She asked. What else is there to say? I asked. You are helping Jenny. That is what you have always done. I'm not surprised. We helped you too, she said defensively. We raised you. We gave you a home. You gave me a home that I paid rent for, I corrected. And you raised me to believe I had a college fund until you decided to give it to someone else. Those are not the flexes you think they are, Mom. You are never going to let that go, are you? She asked. Probably not, I admitted. Because it was not just about the money. It was about what it represented. You chose Jenny over me. You decided she was worth investing in, and I was not. You told me in no uncertain terms that I was worth less than her. Now you are surprised that I do not want to play happy family. We never said you were worth less, my mom said quietly. You didn't have to say it, I replied. You showed it over and over again. The college fund was just the most expensive example. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you did that to me, I said. Then I hung up. I do not know if I will ever have a real relationship with my family again. Part of me thinks I should forgive them, move on, and be the bigger person. But the bigger part of me, the part that spent 4 years working myself to exhaustion while watching my sister coast on advantages that should have been split between us, is not ready to forgive. Maybe I never will be. Maybe that makes me petty. Maybe it makes me bitter. Later, after people started asking what had actually happened to Jenny and why she was struggling so much after having so many advantages, I asked my mom straight up because I was curious too. It turned out Jenny's setbacks were even more her own doing than I realized. After Columbia, Jenny took a job at a prestigious nonprofit in Manhattan, making about $45,000 a year. Not amazing, but not terrible for an entry-level job in a field she was passionate about. The problem was that she wanted to live the New York lifestyle she had seen on TV. She rented an apartment in Manhattan that cost $2,500 a month instead of getting roommates in Brooklyn or Queens. She ate out constantly at trendy restaurants. She bought expensive clothes because she said she needed to look professional. She went to concerts, shows, and events because she called it networking. Within a year, she had $15,000 in credit card debt. My parents bailed her out. They paid off the cards and told her to be more careful. She promised she would be. Then she decided she needed a master's degree to advance her career. She got into NYU for their nonprofit management program. My parents helped with some of it, but most of it was loans. Another $60,000 in debt. She graduated and took another nonprofit job making $55,000 a year, barely more than before. But now she had a master's degree, so she felt she deserved a nicer apartment. This time, it was $3,000 a month. The credit cards came out again. Shopping, restaurants, trips to visit friends in other cities. According to my mom, Jenny was young and deserved to enjoy her life. My parents bailed her out again. Another $20,000 in credit card debt. They told her that was the last time. She promised she would change. She did not. She bounced between a few different nonprofit jobs, never staying anywhere longer than 18 months. There was always an excuse for why she left. The work was not fulfilling. Her boss was difficult. The organization was poorly managed. It was never her fault. The credit card debt kept growing. My parents stopped fully bailing her out, but they did not stop enabling her. They sent her money for groceries that probably went to her favorite wine bar. They loaned her money for rent, that was never paid back. They funded her lifestyle while calling it support. 3 months ago, she quit her job without having another one lined up because she said she was burned out. Since then, she has been applying to positions, but keeps getting rejected, probably because she has been job hopping for years, and her resume looks like it belongs to someone who cannot commit to anything. Now she is $60,000 in credit card debt, has about $85,000 in student loans, has no full-time job, and is living off unemployment and her part-time retail gig while my parents co-sign loans to consolidate her debt. This is the potential they invested in. This is the person they chose over me. And people still wonder why I will not help.